Hey, Sean, we came to Philadelphia for a reason. This is the home of the very first hospital created by Ben Franklin more than 200 years ago. We all know Pennsylvania is important for the electorate in 2010, a big Senate race. Let's get a response. You guys saw the healthcare summit. You got to hear from Obama and the Republicans. Give me a word or phrase to describe what you heard.
Republicans clinging to talking points.
Condescension.
Disheartening.
Condescension.
Disappointing.
Contrived.
A beginning to a discussion.
Unproductive.
A dismissal of pragmatism.
Ooh. How many of you thought, by show of hands, how many of you thought that Barack Obama did better than what you expected? 3, 4, 7 of you. How many of you thought that the Republicans did better than what you expected? That absolutely blows me away. And Sean, if your control room can pull it up, we've got the #1 clip from tonight. It came from John McCain, and it's one of the reasons why these people think, split evenly between Obama and McCain, why they think that the Republicans did so well. Let's take a look at that clip.
They want us to go back to the beginning. They want us not to do this kind of legislating. They want us to sit down together and do what's best for all Americans, not just for some people that live in Florida or happen to live in other favored states. They want a uniform treatment of all Americans.
How many of you had a positive reaction to that clip? Raise your hands. Almost all of you. Now, you've had an individual personal experience with healthcare. How did this summit relate to what you went through?
Well, after a career in healthcare and then taking care of my wife for the last several years and burying my sweetheart last year, I was very disheartened watching what I saw today. A Democratic dismissal of any attempt by Republicans to start a dialogue. But I was very disheartened when I look at my grandbaby, because nothing is going to come of this. They're not listening to us. They're not listening to the people. The doctors and nurses were wonderful. The insurance and administrative end was a nightmare.
How many of you feel that they're listening to you? Raise your hands. How many of you think Washington's still ignoring you? Raise your hands.
Absolutely.
Now, this is incredible. We're split. We got 13 McCain voters here, 11 Obama voters here, and yet you still think Washington's not listening to you. What's the problem?
Right. Why can't we elect somebody to go to Washington, D.C. to work with the other people in Washington, D.C. to do what's best for me? All they do is go to Washington, D.C. to work as hard as they can to make sure that they maintain the presidency.
But focus on health care.
Well, they're not listening to us because I really believe they don't have our best interests at heart.
In terms of health care?
Yeah, I mean, they're just arguing with each other too much. They need to get to it.
Rob.
They're selling out health care for votes. They're trading health care for these deals on the side that are going to get them reelected in the next round, but they really don't care about how their legislation is going to affect the people.
Now, let me hold on that thought for 1 second. Eric Cantor, the whip for the Republicans in the House, had also one of the most dramatic points tonight, also scored very well. Sean, let's take a look at that clip.
So, I do want to go back to your suggestion as to why we're here. And you suggested that maybe we are here to find some points of agreement to bridge the gap in our differences. And I do like to go back to basics. We're here because we Republicans care about health care just as the Democrats in this room.
So the goal in that clip was to speak about bipartisanship, cooperation. Did you hear any of that today?
As far as bipartisanship, ideally, I think that one side thinks that the solutions are with politicians and lawyers. One side thinks that the solutions are with patients. So whenever I'm injured, I've been severely injured twice, I never once scream for a lawyer or a politician. The control has to be in the hands of the patient for us to move forward as a nation.
That is one of the great sound bites I have ever heard in one of these sessions. Pat?
For the first time, I did see the Republicans attempt to seem like they were putting aside bipartisanship. Whether or not they're sincere, I don't know that at this point.
You know, I have never been to the post office or the Department of Motor Vehicle and seen all those windows closed while 50 people were waiting in line and have one of them come over and say, oh, can I open some more windows for you? Government doesn't do anything well. They should not be in charge of the health care, and stop trying to take over everything. Let's talk about fixing the problems. We'll take care of tort reform. We'll hold on to things that work, and we'll take care and get government out of it.
And they can't have bipartisanship when they're building on 2,200 pages, 2,400 pages, 2,700 pages of a bill that Republicans weren't involved in crafting. They need to get rid of it and then work together to make something that actually works.
So Sean's got a question. Let me just ask, show of hands, how many of you think that they should start over, start from scratch? Raise your hands.
Absolutely.
Take a look at this shot.
Yeah.
Again, this is half Republicans and half Democrats, and they want to start over again. Sean, I don't think Washington is listening.
First of all, this is a great group. You're right. And I agreed with every comment pretty much that's been made and the observations. One of the things, Frank, moving forward, we kind of have a pretty good idea that the Democrats want to use this reconciliation process. Now, we had a guy, Scott Brown, elected in Massachusetts, the 41st vote against health care. What I'd like you to ask him, if the Democrats use this parliamentary maneuver, will they be angry? What will their reaction be?
Okay, if the Democrat, how many of you have heard of the word reconciliation? Okay, you're a heck of a lot more informed than the average American. How many of you want to see the Democrats use reconciliation to get health care passed? Raise your hands. 1, 2, 3 of you. How many of you will be angry at the Democrats if they use reconciliation? Why would you be angry?
God, it would be unprecedented. This is not a budget, simply a budget bill. This is a nation transforming, economic transforming bill that will affect every single American for generations to come.
TJ, you got the last word.
Like she said, this is something that's going to affect Americans, every American, for years to come. And I think what they need to do is start from scratch, build it up, work one piece at a time, so that if this is the wrong plan, it doesn't ruin America and the economy forever.
Sean, I got a simple question. Is anybody there? Does anybody care?
Great point.
Is anybody in Washington listening?
Frank, I got to tell you, very, very well-informed, articulate, great group, and a great job from you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.